This episode of the EdTech podcast is sponsored by Learnosity. Learnosity is the global leader in assessment solutions. Serving over 700 customers and more than 40 million learners, its mission is to advance education and learning worldwide with best-in-class technology. Learnosity's specialised expertise and pre-built assessment APIs make it easy for modern learning platforms to quickly launch fully featured products, scale on demand, and always meet fast-evolving market needs. Visit learnosity.com today to discover how. Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the EdTech podcast. A big shout out to the team at Learnosity for supporting this week's episode. I chatted to Sean and Jonathan and the team there, and they are doing amazing work to help EdTech companies from across K-12, higher ed and corporate training get their assessment plans off the ground quickly. This week we're back with another European Female EdTech Fellowship episode focusing on school digital strategies, talking about what insights you uncover speaking to 300 head teachers in Germany.
And I can tell you the processes, the bureaucracy and the lack of digitization is frighteningly inhibiting innovation.
And how to tackle the wicked problem of student well-being.
It falls in between so many different stakeholders, parents, school, local municipalities, state, like who is the boss of child's worry.
But before all that, some news and updates. EdTechX is fast approaching on the 23rd of June in London. I'll be there hosting a fireside chat with the CEO of Coursera, and the great news for listeners is I have a tasty discount code for anyone who wants to attend. So if you want to make the most of that code, it is ETX22 podcast 40. Once again, ETX22 podcast 40. And the discount is decent at 40% off the normal ticket price. To register, find the link which we'll share in our show notes. What else? There are 4 days left to apply to join the Transcend Fellowship number 8. The Transcend Fellowship is for founders in the future of learning and work who are early stage and pre-product market fit. It's online, so very easily accessible, and the link, as always, is in the show notes. And the deadline to apply is May the 20th. One more thing, I caught up recently with EdTech entrepreneur and learning scientist and founder of Gold Star Education, Anissa Moeni. Gold Star is a diagnostic tool to help EdTech companies understand and share their impact potential and to identify which companies are more likely to deliver on their education mission. So do go and check out Anissa's latest work, and that might be a great thing if you're trying to identify exactly the impact that you're making and to help communicate that externally. Okay, that is enough for now. Let's get straight into this week's episode with Madeleine and Kadri. Here we go. Awesome. Right. So I'm very excited. We're back with another episode of our European EdTech Female Fellowship series. And today we are looking at school digital strategy best practices. And I'm joined this morning by Madeleine Wolf, who is founder and CEO of Vision U, based in Berlin, and Kadri Tuisk, who is founder and CEO at Clanbeat and Young Female Entrepreneur of the Year in Estonia. I'll just give a quick introduction as to both of those companies. So in terms of Vision U believes that media education is as important as literacy and numeracy skills. And Vision U aims to make digital education available for everyone. They support teachers and companies in the digital transformation of education. And for this purpose, they provide ready-to-use teaching concepts and further training with e-learning. And in terms of Clanbeat, so Clanbeat is a students' wellbeing platform with social learner communities, and they help people to discover their true passions, achieve their goals, and shape their own future. And Kadri's mission with Clanbeat is to help students to be self-aware individuals with strong self-management skills so that they can reach their true potential. She's a design thinking practitioner and is driven by implementing it to support people designing their life. And she's also a mum and likes outdoor sports and pandas, which is fantastic. I love that. So welcome both to the EdTech podcast.
Hey, thank you.
Madeline, let's start with you. As part of the EdTech podcast, we have our guests form where people can populate what speaks to them in terms of their own upbringing, their own schooling, kind of formative experiences and their kind of big idea in education. What struck me when I quickly just went through your entries there was your amazing paragraph on where you were born and the experiences that shaped who you are. So I'll just read a little bit and then we can kind of go into some of that and then your big idea in education. But you put here, you were born in Berlin, Germany, the daughter of a single mother and part of the first generation in your family to go to university. And you put, I've been shaped my whole life. My mother, whose footsteps are so big that I don't know how I'll ever fit in, which I found quite moving, how you wrote that. And you were motivated by her all my life. And we could always talk about anything. There are no taboos. And then you'd go on to talk about some of your experiences in terms of exposure to entrepreneurship and some of the difficult times of growing up. But could you tell our listeners a little bit about what you wrote there and and how that relates to what you're doing now with Vision U?
Yeah, the thing with my mother is true. It's like I said it. So it's she's just amazing to me because she worked 40 hours a week and had two daughters. And I never felt that she isn't there for us. So I don't know how she made it, but she did it. So it's quite fascinating to me. In school, it was pretty difficult at first, but then I got to kind of like a nerd. To class 10. So, it happens when my sister had a little accident and that was quite heavy at this time when I was 13. But school helped me to get through this and I started to find myself in learning and being good in doing so. So that was where, I don't know how to say it, not career, but my, love for learning started growing. So that was to me very mind-blowing. And when I grow older, as I said, I am the first one in our family, the first generation going to university. So when I went to Stuttgart for my first studies, I then felt that I have many things to learn, which other people to that time already knew. So I felt there is an imbalance, so that education, there is no equal education for everyone in our country, still not. So it's my wish to develop the education system for more equality. Yeah, that's what I want to do.
And something that struck me about both of you was, talking about formative experiences and some sort of tragic circumstances. So you talked about your sister in a coma, and Kadri, very sadly, I read about your brother passing away at an early age. And one thing coming out of this is it creates this amazing zest for grasping opportunities. And we're here and we're talking about, running our own businesses. And I thought that was really interesting and something that a lot of people will relate to because, I think once you go through life, there usually is that one episode that happens in your life that does provide a lot of challenge. But if you can come out of that and grasp the positives. And Kadri, what I loved about reading from your perspective was that sort of made you quite fearless. So not rash, but actually just saying, right, I'm going to grasp these opportunities and I'm going to, I'm not scared. I'm going to make the most of my life, which I thought was great.
Yeah, usually people do have this like life-changing moments. And for me, it was truly life-changing because I had totally different life before that event. And then I my brother sadly passed away in boating accident, and then I really realized that what are those most important things in life. And I started to value family. I started to value impact, what I'm creating in this world. And in the end of the day, I think it turned my life around into a much more positive way. And right now I am living the things that this thing transformed me to, because I am changing people's lives for the better with those initiatives that I'm doing right now. So I'm a bad thing, but something good came out of it.
Yeah, and it's kind of like honouring your brother as well, which I like that idea.
Yeah.
And so, and also what I loved is, you talked about coming from a small village in Estonia, then not allowing that to be a limiting factor to your own success. So I could kind of relate to that idea.
Yeah, actually, this is very inspiring that in the world where we live right now, it is possible to come from the very small island or some very small fisherman village as I did, and to become somebody who is creating positive change in the world. Like if you're looking at how the world has evolved, and we have had this kind of boxes or classes, and it's really hard to jump from one to another, then it still exists in many places of the world. But already in many places we are seeing the change, that it is possible to create a life and create a positive change, even if you have not born into the circumstances that might allow you to do it super easily.
Yeah. No, I definitely subscribe to that idea. So this episode is all about school digital strategy. And I was thinking about what you both do. And I was thinking about sort of Vision U being like the doing and the change management processes around supporting the people that are involved in digital strategy. And then Kadri with Clanbeat thinking about, well, how do you make that sustainable? Because it can be quite a stressful process. And it's about sort of the well-being aspect of how we create digital strategy so that it is sustainable and it's not toxic and all of those things. So let's get into what you both do. Madeleine, do you want to kick off with your big idea with Vision U and kind of what you're focusing on at the moment as well?
Yeah, I love to do that. We see ourselves more like a creative agency for digital education. And therefore, as you said, we help schools develop towards digital transformation. And as I understand, digitization brings many challenges. For example, new teaching content and methods, but also new training needs for teachers, change in their mindset, that teachers are encouraged to try new things. And my wish is that all children and young people, regardless of socioeconomic factors, are best prepared for life and to be able to participate in society. And digitization has its own huge impact of all our lives. So it is important that everybody understands it and knows how to live in a world which is digital. So therefore we have some specific topics we are addressing. It's like more special topics like sustainable development or education for sustainable development. It's digital education. It's like more cross-cutting topics we are addressing. And that is where teachers, school, or different organizations just still need some support, and that's what we are doing. We support them with by consulting them, but we also develop own education content which we provide.
And so it's encouraging all the stakeholders in a school and especially students to sort of participate actively and constructively in society. So thinking about, rather than just working through a curriculum for the curriculum's sake, how you're actually going to affect change in the issues that we're grappling with today, which I think we all are very clear about now in terms of what the issues are. But sometimes it feels a little bit like there's a division between, what we're learning about over here and what the problems are as well. So one of the questions we ask is the biggest myth or foe in education. And you wrote, too much money ends up at universities or university institutes, and we don't effectively measure the success of universities by how well they teach. or how well they select students for a subject. It's more about acquiring research or development funds for the sake of money. And so what's your point there? And, what would you like to see more of?
Yeah, I would like to see more cooperations between universities, startups, or different companies, because and I think it needs more evaluation of doing so, because there is a lot of money invested into different projects. And I feel that even nobody is asking what's the impact, the outcome of these projects. And I would love to see this even more, to understand the way how we learn, what's the best way to for different people. I would love to see this even more than just giving money onto specific universities. And it isn't, in my opinion, not necessary that every university in Germany needs to develop their own platform or own learning management system. That's not what we need, I guess.
And Kadri, if we move on to you with Clanbeat, can you tell our listeners a little bit about what the big idea is and, what you're focusing on as well at the moment?
Yeah, my idea actually is that students' well-being should be at the heart of their learning, meaning that actually everything what we do in life, the well-being should be at the heart of everything we do. And therefore, we created Clanbeat, and we are focusing on students' well-being together with social learner communities. And we are able to get insights into how students are doing in school and in life in general, and visualize this data for themselves and also for the school and the teacher. So early interventions could happen, and the school processes could be designed much more better to facilitate students' well-being and their personal differences. And we also are putting a lot of effort into providing students the self-management and personal agency skills that they could actually push through life and push through anything life throws at them. And this is our very big goal, that students would develop those skills themselves, that even when they're stuck, they would know what to do. And this is a very big passion of mine. But there are also very many obstacles in this, because students' well-being is one of the wicked problems in the world. It falls in between so many different stakeholders: parents, school, local municipalities, state. Who is the boss of child's worry? And this is something which we are struggling with every day. In many countries, the responsibility goes to ministries of education. In some countries, it's social ministries who are those who have to actually guarantee the well-being of the nation and the education of well-being practices. But it is still in the early phases of getting very structural support. And many schools are not equipped to deal with even these topics in a very operative way. And we are able to provide schools with very precise data and insights about their students' well-being, but many schools are still yet struggling with teacher overload, with so many different topics, that the student well-being sometimes doesn't get too much attention. And then when we are thinking about how humans are learning and growing, then if they are in this dark place in their life, learning and growth cannot happen. So in order to provide meaningful learning experiences, students need to be in a good place themselves, for starters, and then you can actually do something about their personal growth and learning experiences. So this is a change we really want to bring in the world, that well-being should be at the heart of learning, and students should be at the center of all the learning experiences, and really understand how those things are affecting themselves and how they want to pursue life and what is their internal motivation to do those things.
It's interesting as well, because I think, I don't know what your experience is, but I can imagine when you're discussing this with teachers, like that, they just get that. They get that, they're at the front line working with children, and, if that child's not in the right place, like, it's not going in. So I was just wondering if that's kind of the conversations that you have, and whether, when we think about school digital strategies, what I often think is, everyone knows what they need to do, but it's finding the time in the program. So, it'd be great to kind of hear from you, Kadri, about what feedback you get from teachers, and where the blocks are to making that happen, making that shift towards well-being, being at the centre, and then from both of you on how you might work with the schools that you work with to actually have more time to affect some of these positive moves towards digital, and the best version of that.
Very good question, and actually this brings me to this kind of second very big problem in the world that I see, that actually teachers are doing those things which they are measured upon, and also students are doing those things what they are measured upon. If you're being measured upon your mathematics grades and science grades and etc., then you're not putting yourself into this picture. You're and this is a very, very big problem. Yes, results of measuring teaching and learning processes effective is really vital. But those things, what we are measuring, this should be overlooked, because this is something which has been with us for centuries, in a way that and the world has evolved, and we have not changed the things that we are measuring. And if you're talking about 21st century skills, which is like in the heart of many countries' education strategies, and also if you're looking at the OECD education strategy, self-directed learning, personalized learning, 21st century skills, and these are not reflecting on those things that what we are measuring. And if you're thinking about 21st century skills, critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, like leadership, like taking initiative, social skills, like how these are reflecting on grades. And these are like human skills which should be measured, and well-being is really a big part of those.
I think there's so many people listen to this who would be applauding everything you're saying, especially on grades, and the fact that those systems of measurement haven't really caught up. If you could rip up the whole thing and start again, like, what would that look like? What would you love it to look like?
I would love to have that the world would be in this kind of phase where the personalized learning is already in this phase that it is like technically possible. I know that it is technically really hard right now because of the resources and the human capability of noticing each child's needs and providing the dedicated support. But I would really love to move towards the world where we wouldn't have special needs kids in the world anymore. Every kid should be special needs kid in this best sense, in a way that everybody has different kind of pace, different kind of interests, different kind of strengths and weaknesses. And this is the education system that I would really love to see evolving into, and putting the child's needs into the center of it. Not the education system as a conveyor into this first focus. So like more personalized, ubiquitous learning economy where the needs of the education are evolving around each child's needs. So this is something I really want to see.
And how about you, Madeline?
Yeah, for me, it's a whole leg in the system. So it begins with even the selection of who's going to become a teacher. So how do we choose these people in university? It's there where it starts to become a teacher. And then what are the lessons during university to become a teacher? That they have to change a lot in our system. And back in 2019, we did a 5-week tour of Germany and spoke to between 250 to 300 headmasters and teachers. And what we did is we wanted to understand how schools work in Germany. And I can tell you the processes, the bureaucracy, and the lack of digitization is frighteningly inhibiting innovation. So we once tried to show this in just one illustration. And yes, we got a result, but it is almost cynical. So the whole content, all you have to know as a teacher is so much growing. And Kadri said leadership and things like this. And maybe it is necessary, or perhaps not necessary, but a good idea also for teachers to have internships in companies for special time, and not just once, but just to learn from another.
This week's episode is sponsored by WorkTrip. WorkTrip is a marketplace to help high-growth companies book team offsites. WorkTrip brings together venues and experiences, coaches, facilitators, and inspiring speakers, and helps companies set their intentions for gathering and learning together. If you're thinking of organising a team offsite, let us help you at worktrip.com. If you're a coach, facilitator, or a thought-provoking speaker, contact us about adding your listing. And finally, WorkTrip has big ambitions. If you want to invest in a better world of work and learning, get in touch and we can share our plans. That's actually a really interesting idea, because I'm not sure where you are, but certainly here in the UK, there's like a recruitment retention crisis with teachers. And also with head teachers now as well. So, but what if there was built into that very intense experience of being a teacher, like a secondment every year to a different company, where you can basically pick up loads of great ideas and become a sort of entrepreneur in your own school? That to me, how many people would stick around if we sorted out pay and all the other things as well? That it feels like a more provides that interest point as well. But what do you think, Kadri?
Actually, this is a really great that you brought that out, because in Estonia we just launched a program, and the first batch has already finished, where we are sending heads of schools into companies who are doing really well to learn this mindset, what you just mentioned, and bringing this expertise back to the school. And this is a really good idea.
I'd love you to send me the link on that. And also, I'm just like, how come Estonia always comes up with all these amazing ideas?
Estonia is actually one of the most digitally advanced society in the world. And there is a reason behind that, because we came out of Soviet times and we had the possibility to build up our country, learning from all the other amazing countries and their journeys of what has been done well and what has not been done well. And I think this has given us a really good ground of doing things right, and not having this kind of burden of but we have always done those things this way.
Yeah. So I guess getting into the specifics, could you share with our listeners some of your partnerships that you've had with schools? So when you're thinking about digital strategies, can you think of a particular example that you could share?
Yes, I can, because we're working a lot with schools and different schools. And back in 2020, in Germany, there started the Digital Pact. Is like a digital pact to get the schools more towards digitalization. So it has been all about digital infrastructure, because a lot of schools doesn't even have a good Wi-Fi or tablets and things like that. And if the infrastructure isn't well, you don't even have to think about any digital content. So and therefore the schools had to write their own. It is called like a media development plan, because in Germany we have the media education, which is not just one course, but it's this cross-cutting issue. What I tried to explain. So there are different skills in it, and the schools have to explain in which class they are trying to build these skills with the pupils. And that was quite heavy for them, because not everyone knows what all these media skills are about. And they had to explain what a technical needs they have and things like that. And this plan is huge. And most schools had very big issues with this. So that's one part. We're doing workshops with them, trying to identify what the teachers need and what their learning needs are for the teachers to use these tools they're trying to get from the ministry.
It's really interesting because I was talking to a lady yesterday from a company called, I think they're called Graydon, and it's actually thinking about, lots of companies benefit from coaching within their organizations. It almost sounds like it's a process of working with teachers and other stakeholders that are sorting out some of these digital processes. And, that is, especially if you're doing it at a national level, quite a daunting prospect. Suddenly it's another thing to think about on top of everything else. So it's almost like a coaching and sort of support system alongside those people whilst they're going through that.
It has a lot to do with change management, and there are some teachers who are willing to change, and there are a lot who are just frightened, and you have to take these people and talk to them and try to understand what the boundaries are, and to encourage them to learn. So long life learning is a big issue in Germany, and it's not that easy to implement it to everyone or with everyone in every institution. It's not just the schools, it's the companies as well.
And Kadri, any other kind of examples of schools that you're partnering with, or particular examples where they're having problems that you can recall?
Yes, definitely. Our main person with whom we are working very closely together are homeroom teachers or school counselors and heads of schools. And we are providing them the possibility to have a really insightful overview of those students who are usually not seen, and visualizing them and helping them to get into fast help, and also helping homeroom teachers to establish this environment in the school where they are able to create meaningful relationships with their students. So students would be able to have them as a first response, who is there actually, who is supposed to see if something is needing support. But dealing with schools one by one is very lengthy process. And we are supporting all of our teachers and school heads in regular webinars and also doing one-on-one consulting with them. But when we are talking about the whole country and the school system, then I would really love to give an insight what is happening in Estonia at the moment. We are having this amazing program in Estonia, which is called Accelerate Estonia. And this is public-private partnership. And their slogan or sentence of why they have been called into life is called, "If we gave you a country, what would you do with it?" And and we have
an idea
that where do I start? And we had an idea of really accelerating Estonia to be the well-being education nation. And right now we are participating in this program, working together with the ministries and National Health Institute to bring this change in much more larger scale into existence as each individual school. Although in the end of the day, this is reaching to each individual school. But if you're talking about systematic change, then you have to have stakeholders who are actually going to be thinking along with you how to create this change and how it could be sustainable. So if one school is getting tired, like how to really help them out, and how to create the knowledge behind those systematic change actions.
Fantastic. So we should keep our eyes out for when Estonia is, becomes the education well-being country of the future.
Definitely. I will make everything so that it could happen.
Wonderful. Okay, cool. And, for both of your organizations, what are you kind of focused on in the next sort of, say, 6 to 12 months? Like, what's the kind of big focus? And also any messages to our listeners that can help you with that. So we have, school leaders, investors, other companies listening in. So what would your message be to them? What would you like them to do?
Maybe I can start. Our focus for the next year is to really focus on building up the data, gathering inside the schools and reflecting it back meaningfully to the school heads, to the teachers, to the school advisory, well-being leads and students themselves. And this is something that is going to be transforming the way how students are receiving help at the moment, helping them to be seen, and also building behind the services and the materials that students really could help themselves. And if among the listeners there are school heads or well-being leads who are really thinking about stepping up their game of supporting each individual student and really not wanting to burden their school staff, but really taking technology into really human technology of how to really support their students, then I think this is a really great opportunity to check us out. And even if you're just one teacher having a class full of students, then this is something for you as well.
And that point that you made about making students more visible is something that, because over the last couple of years, obviously everything with the pandemic, people have been talking about all the benefits and all of the issues with digital divide. But one thing that I'm still not clear about in my head is what happens when kids just go AWOL, when they just disappear out, and at all schools, I still think there's a dip in, attendance. So there's some that have just kind of gone off the radar and haven't quite come back into that school system.
This indeed has been a really big problem, which we have noticed as well. And this is also a bigger problem. This is not only the problem of children who are being lost to this digital world and who are blinding their cameras or not showing up at all. This is the bigger problem of not having a sense of belonging, not having strong relationships in the school to which they want to cater or show up to. And this is something which needs a lot of work, love and human approach. This is not something that only technology can actually solve. Us as a Clanbeat are giving a really big helping hand, giving a voice to students, visualizing their needs and giving them self-help materials as well, and giving the tools for teachers also to build those relationships. We have automated the student engagement activities which are helping teachers to create these moments of insights about their students and getting those connection moments. We are visualizing people who are similar to you. We are visualizing people who are having the same dreams and goals about life in the form of bucket list ideas. We are visualizing people around your group with the same interests. So we are creating this sense of belonging that this would be the place where they would want to show up. If they think of it as something nobody cares, I don't know those people too much, then this is something, then you will not show up. Then you feel more comfortable being alone.
Fantastic. And Madeleine, how about yourself? The next kind of 12 months, what does that look like?
Wow. Yeah, it's great question. We're just trying to build up our platform Bildungsfreaks, which provides different content from different providers to these cross-cutting issues like consumer education, education for sustainable development, media education, digital education, things like that. And if I could wish anything here to the listeners, if there is any teacher or any person who's interested in being part of developing interactive courses or special skills, special content, just give me a call, and I'm always interested in collaboration and to develop it with the people who are actually using this.
Yeah, fantastic. And then just to kind of wrap up then, so we always ask our listeners, any people, projects, books, podcasts, or anything else that has inspired you. And I know that in your answers, you talked about any EdTech founders, because that's an incredibly hard sector to work in, but also rewarding as well. We've got 2 books here. So Designing Your Life by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans, and The Almanac of Naval Ravikant by Eric Jorgensen. So do you want to talk a little bit about those books?
Yeah, sure. If you're talking about designing your life, then this is a really inspiring book to me, in a way that this is helping you to see your life, to build up the path into your life, that you wouldn't be disappointed when something doesn't work out. So you would have different kind of paths to choose from, and you would always know what to do even when you don't know what to do, and have this kind of inspiring, well-rounded, holistic approach to your life. And when we are thinking about why this book has been also impactful, I think I read it from somewhere that the 2 authors, they are also having a selective course in Stanford called Designing Your Life, and this has been the most popular course in the Stanford history. So this also says something about the impactfulness of this book. So if you have time, please go check it out. And Naval Ravikant's Almanach is actually put together from his Twitter tweets and giving explanations behind that. So it's really easy to consume, but so impactful and insightful. If you think about Twitter format, then with a very few characters, you have to say a lot. And this is something which is you can start it from anywhere, and still get your kick if you're like having it on your night table or anywhere in your house or even in a plane. It's like a guide to wealth and happiness. So it's very wide. But it is about entrepreneurship. It is about how the world functions, how the humans function. And I love some of those insights in there. I had many aha moments in there reading it, and I have read it many times. And I recommend people to read some books even 2 or 3 times, because always when you're reading a book for a second or third time, you're discovering new things, or thinking you yourself are also in a different place when you read it last time.
That's very true.
So it's
Madeleine, a couple of your recommendations. So one was The Art of Clear Thinking, and the other was Lead, Perform, Live. So do you want to say a few words about those?
I'd love to. So I'm not quite sure if it's the art of clear thinking or the art of thinking clearly. I'm not quite sure. It's by Rolf Dobelli. And this is, to me, very interesting, because he shows up or brings a lot of thinking mistakes we are doing every day. And to be aware of these mistakes is just great for a society to do not do these mistakes. So it's very interesting, I guess, and I just could recommend it. And the book Lead, Perform, and Live is by Fredmund Malik, and it is more for if you're leading a company, it helps a lot, because having employees, for example, is just so challenging, and there comes just every day new challenges which I haven't even thought of before. So and it's also about the balancing between working and living, just some good advices how to deal with it.
Fantastic. Thank you both so much. Well, for our listeners, go and check out the work of Madeleine Wolf, founder and CEO of Vision U, and Kadri Tuisk, founder and CEO at Clanbeat. We'll include all the links, all the social medias and everything in our show notes. And best of luck for the next 12 months and beyond. And hopefully get the chance to see you both in person.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
You're very welcome. That's all for this week's episode. Thanks so much to all of the guests, Learnosity and Worktrip, for supporting this week's episode, and to you all for listening. If you want a bit of work-based distraction, do always feel free to go and leave us a review on the podcast. Otherwise, that's all for now. Until next time, when we're back talking about assessment, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.